What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. So you're 175 this morning. Is that what I see? 175?
I am 175 and change. Yeah, you're still safe. Your money's still safe.
I'm 169.8.
Oof.
But yeah. So
good. Advantage. So Rollins.
Yeah, 169.8. You're 175 point what?
4, I think.
175.4. Okay. All right. We're both getting there.
Yeah, man.
We are getting there.
What's the secret to your success in terms of weight loss?
Okay. So I think, first of all, I think it's multifaceted. So if you go and look at layers, right, like the first thing and most important thing is calories in versus calories out. There are some technicalities to that, yes, but most people get confused by those technicalities. Right. So, for instance, there is some evidence that if you eat those calories in the morning versus eating them at night, it's more beneficial. Like if you eat the same, 1,000 calories in the morning, studies show that you're more likely to burn them more efficiently than if you eat them at night. But the problem is it's like that small of the pie. It's a small piece of the pie. So most people are not doing that calculus. So they're not really taking advantage of that 75 calorie bonus, if that makes sense. So in other words, you could probably eat another 75 to 100 calories in the morning versus eating at night. So but most people are not doing that. Most people are not getting that precise. But the other thing is most men are not trying to lose weight. They're trying to lose fat. And this is very important. But if you're not already, I would say if you're not already at 9% body fat, don't worry about this part. Most men get caught up in the technicalities. So just in my opinion, just measure your weight and the body fat will follow. Right. So I would say up until I get to 9% body fat, I just focus on the scale. So you asked for the secret. So the first thing is just focus on the scale. That's all you have to do. Now from there, you could keep on just focusing on the scale for the next till you get to 5%. 4%. You can keep on doing that if you want to. But if you're going, the problem is if you don't have experience, then you might lose heart, because what happens is when you get a caloric deficit, you also are very likely depleting your carbohydrates, so your glycogen storage, which is just from my understanding, is a carbohydrate stored inside of your muscle. That is the immediate fuel that is used to let's say do a bicep curl if it's in your if you're trying to focus on your biceps. The problem with that is then you start to look deflated. So guys will enter into this weird fish body zone, which is you've lost a bunch of weight, you've also lost fat, but your muscle has deflated. It's not necessarily that you've lost muscle, it's that it's deflated, because your muscle, if you think about it like a bunch of hoses, right? I don't know if you've ever seen those hoses that are not made of hard rubber, but they're made of kind of soft rubber and they deflate. Right. So it's they can, so anyway, so what happens is you're flushing out your glycogen, and for every unit, which let's say for now it's carbohydrate stored in the muscle, for every unit of carbohydrate you have stored in the muscle, you lose 3 units of water. So you lose a lot of volume. Right. So then all of a sudden you're walking around oh man, I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm trying to look jacked, but I'm not. I'm looking like Gumby, or something similar. Then they get back into the bulking cycle. So they have this perpetual feedback loop, and it's very toxic. So then they start to bulk, and then they start to get some size, but then they accumulate fat. So anyway, the point is that I've been doing it for so long now that I'd like to think I'm very in tune with those cycles. So for instance, I know that I have you exactly where I want you, right? You will see. And by the way, Ray, you can take your thing off mute because I don't hear any reverb. If you want to.
It's just
So
that Thea's watching cartoons in the other room.
we
So
can't hear
let
it
me
at
know
all.
if it's a distraction.
Yep, can't hear it at all. Um, so what will happen is like if I time everything correctly, I will lose body fat and then still keep my glycogen. Which like so, for instance, last night I ate a whole bunch of popcorn, but I make my own popcorn, so I don't cook it with oil. Like I cook it hot popped, etc. So my glycogen, and I drank a whole bunch of water. So my glycogen storage is full because I'm going to be hitting the gym this week a lot and so on. I want to make sure I've got that energy because going to the gym when you're on like low glycogen is not a fun experience. This is why bodybuilders, they call it peak week, right? And it's usually peak week. It's usually like the week before peak week. That's horrible. So you're super depleted, and then peak week you're trying to replenish your glycogen. So it's actually the week before peak week that's terrible. So then anyway, if I can get my body fat down, right to where I want it, just for the aesthetics, and then keep my glycogen as replenished as possible, and then come into the home stretch of a weight loss competition, say where I got to pay $5,000 to somebody trying to compete with me. I'm giving you kind of my secret sauce here. I will keep you where I want you, and then if I'm doing everything right, then I can drop the extra pounds like that. Like I'll test it this week, just to put my money where my mouth is. You'll see. Like I will test it this week, and you should see significant weight loss drop from me over the next few days because of that reason, and simultaneously still getting the body that I want. Because you could just deplete your carbohydrates, you could do all that stuff, but you still have a bunch of fat on your body, and it's like, well, what's the point of that? You know? So anyway.
And how important is drinking water and how much?
Oh yeah. I mean, like that's the other thing. You don't want to do like the whole point of this is to be an optimal male, right? So you're like, yes, there's tricks you could do. You could go and just you could not drink water, and in fact, you could drink an excessive amount of water, right, for a handful of days, like 1.5 to 2 gallons a day, and get your body used to like flushing out a lot of water just because of saturation, and then you could stop and then take diuretics, and all of a sudden, boom, you get like bone dry. I'm not recommending that. I would never recommend it. That's a horrible thing to do. Would you lose weight? Yeah, technically you lose weight. You lose a bunch of water weight. But again, that gets away from the point of why we'd be doing this in the first place. And it's not healthy, right? Like, arguably you're risking your life, which I think is kind of silly, which I think is very silly. So yeah, managing those systems. But for all intents and purposes, 99.999% of guys, all you have to worry about, calories in versus calories out. And I would also say, start to get really in tune with your body and measuring your body consistently. Like I've now been doing it for, probably like 20 years, like quite literally. So like trying different diets, trying different measurement tools, like measuring body fat, measuring weight, all these things. So you start to get a feeling. Like I actually feel like when I'm going into like weight loss zone. Like I know what the hunger pangs feel like. I know exactly what the type of hunger pangs I feel like. All these kinds of things. So, but that just comes with experience. Most guys, though, all they have to worry about calories in versus calories out, and like really count the calories for your first handful of time. Unless you're doing something like the density diet and really sticking to it, that's what I would try first. It's not because I think the density diet sounds cool or because like quote I came up with it. No, it's just a bunch of trial and error. I'm telling you, if I had to start over again, I would do the density diet 100%. And then I would get myself down to like 7% body fat. And if I wanted to get below that, then I'd start pulling out more advanced techniques.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is 3 eggs in the morning, the density diet shake for lunch, and then just trying to do protein and veggies for the rest of the day. And I mean, and like you said, I mean, if I front loaded the protein, that make a tiny difference. But for me, it's the abstaining from. So I'm not even at calorie counting yet. For me, it's abstaining from your junk foods, your sugars, your refined carbohydrates. That's the big difference for me.
Oh yeah, I think like reducing the toxic stuff is going to get you a huge bump, just an enormous bump. It's like one of the things you do is just stop drinking your calories. Most people drink 300 to 700 calories a day, and it's like,
from what?
Oh, I mean, from lattes, from putting oat milk in their lattes and sugars in their whatever the hell they're. I don't know. I don't drink coffee, but I remember one time looking at my buddies. Well, I was helping him. This is the guy who lost 100 pounds. And one of the first things we looked at was he went to Starbucks every day, basically. And he had no idea because he didn't think his drink was that sweet because it didn't taste like a lollipop. But it's sweet in the sense I was like, I took a sip of it, like, dude, this is an overpowering sense of vanilla. And it doesn't taste like natural vanilla. So then you look behind the little Starbucks counter, they're just pumping this syrup, in there. And then I looked at the calories. And I think his drink, I believe, dude, it was like 280 calories. It was something nuts, and that's enormous. And if you have 2 of those a day, you're done. On top of your meals, like you're probably going to be at 1,000 calorie surplus if you're eating these other meals like normal Americans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man. Keep fighting, dude. You'll get
hell yeah. Hell yeah. There's no losing. Oh no, I'm gonna beat you, and I can sabotage you too.
You could. You totally could. Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to, right? Like I would think this is not necessarily the winner's mentality, but just stop drinking water, stop eating food, and that's it.
Right.
Like
stop breathing oxygen.
Yeah. You do that for 3 days, it's amazing.
The worms will devour your flesh. You'll be a skeleton. You'll be 40 pounds.
Yeah.
No, but exactly. This is a fight against myself. This isn't a fight against you, right?
100%.
It is a self-mastery exercise.
Oh yeah.
Not a like sensible business plan. Like this is not how I'm going to earn my money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's a self-mastery. And
I wrote this down, and this is why I've said since the very beginning, like the best thing you can do with a man is compete with him, because the weird thing is when I compete with you, I don't look at it as competing with you. I look at it as competing with a version of myself. Like you are representing a piece of myself right now that I have not brought out in a while. Like that's why I compete with people, So it's just like, because in my opinion, we're all from the same source. Not to get like super spiritual, but I'm not a very spiritual person, but like I believe that like we're all from the same matter, So you represent a certain way of thinking that maybe I'm not thinking right now. But then when you compete with me, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm getting in touch back with myself on that particular vein. So let's do it. So I took some screenshots. Let's see. Some really good screenshots. I'm studying Stoicism right now. Just because it's kind of a hot topic. Damn, where is it? Basically, it said something like, oh, here you go. I would change this. I would change it to excellence atrophies without an adversary. I really like that. The quote was, excellence withers without an adversary. I like the word atrophies better. Excellence atrophies without an adversary. Love it.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And Seneca talked about it. It's like, how unfortunate if you go through life without an opponent. And I believe that's why I constantly want to compete. I constantly want to compete. I've found no other times in my life where I've been able to perform as high as I have without an opponent. Nothing even comes close. Oh yeah.
Dude, so we'll get to 8 dates now, but I've also started The War of Art, which you've read probably multiple times. Phenomenal. And what Stephen Pressfield says is he says the prayer of Odysseus at the beginning of each day. And so that is something we should look up, because just along the lines of the Daily Stoic, because I think it's probably a cool call to arms. Yes. So let's see. There's something called the Prayer to the Muse from Homer's The Odyssey. The first thing I do when I enter my office each morning is say a prayer to the Muse. I say it out loud and in dead earnest. Let's see if. Do you mind if I just read it?
Let's do it.
Okay. The prayer I say is the invocation of the Muse from Homer's Odyssey. The translation's by T.E. Lawrence, the Oxford-educated classical scholar, also known as Lawrence of Arabia. We were speaking last week about conceiving of our office or studio or gym or dojo as a sacred space. For me, this prayer is part of that process. And it goes, "O divine poesy, goddess, daughter of Zeus, sustain me for this song. Sing, goddess, of the wrath of Achilles, Peleus' son." So that, we'll just let that, marinate in our heads. And we'll come back to that when we, maybe if we want to do War of Art in our book club.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it would be an honor to do that. It's phenomenal. I think every man should master that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm only in the first quarter of it now, but it's just full of, I'm just highlighting practically every other line.
Yeah, it's
so
outstanding. Good. All right, dude. Let's I'm gonna pull up my notes from Gottman. Let's do it, brother. 8
John
dates,
and Julie
final
Gottman.
section.
8 dates. Date number 8, a lifetime of love. The subject is dreams.
Yep.
So there's a series. So this is talking about dreams where we discussed it earlier in the book, where like Julie Gottman's dream was to climb Mount Everest with a bunch of her girlfriends, and John made space in their calendar for her to train for a year and do this. Dreams are important. Your own dreams, your partner's dreams, the dreams you have together. Dreaming together and supporting each other in pursuing individual dreams is just as critical for your relationship as trust, commitment, and sex. So, Wes.
Ray dropped out. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. So for those of you who don't know, we are on the final section of the book called 8 Dates. This is our Rhomas book club. So every couple episodes or so, we will do book club, try to get finished a book. So this is our first book that we've gotten done. John Gottman, 8 Dates. Highly recommend it to everyone. I'm going to re-invite Ray back on here. We are going through the final section, which is called Dreams. I think it's called Dreams. Let me see. So yeah, honor your partner's dreams. And basically, for those of you who are just listening to this for the first time, for John Gottman's 8 Dates, John Gottman wrote the book called 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, which is outstanding. It's almost like the Bible of relationships. This guy, John Gottman, is arguably the quote Michael Jordan of the relationship psychotherapy genre. And then he wrote a workbook called 8 Dates. And I would actually say, if you haven't read either of those books, then do it in the reverse. Read that book first, because 8 Dates is like a workbook version of 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. So you can actually take action on it quicker and get a lot of those principles. Then I would go and read the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. Ray, just in time. Cannot hear you. So anyway, I will proceed while Ray's figuring out the computer issues.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Okay, so in terms of this particular section, this I think is actually pretty important. And this, for me as a partner, is important for me to receive, which is having a partner that supports my dreams and vice versa. So in this particular section, they talk about how important it is to not only talk about the basics of whether it be like physical intimacy or finances or how we're going to grow our family. That's all, in my opinion, that's a lot of baseline fundamental stuff that a lot of people would understand. Yeah, like they could probably guess that, those are essentials. But I think very few couples actually get to the stratosphere of talking about, well, what are actual dreams? And I would actually argue that, from where I come from, it's almost a weird conversation to have. It almost sounds like too like hippy dippy woo woo type of stuff. But in my opinion, this is one of the most important sections. Like after you get past those fundamentals, and then Ray, I cannot see you, buddy. I don't know if anybody else can. I don't think anybody else can either. I just invited you. Might want to, Ray, you might want to shut it down and open it back up again, maybe. I'm not sure. So, okay. So for me, again, I know I sound like a broken record when I say this. I think the prerequisite to having somebody support your dreams and your goals is to actually define your dreams and your goals and what you want ahead of time. And most people say they know what they want or they have their goals. But in reality, it's like if I asked you for your binder, like if I literally asked you to hand it to me, would you have it? So I know that I always have mine right here, like ready to go. Always my goals binder, always ready to go. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that it's helped me so much. So if you have not spent hours, I would say 5 to 7 hours on writing down your goals, writing down your dreams, exactly what you want, exactly why you want them, etc., then I personally don't necessarily think it's fair to ask your partner or your friends or your office or whoever's in your immediate circle to support you. I often think that what happens when we argue with people or when we're frustrated is actually us being frustrated at ourselves. And I know that sounds more like philosophical, but I actually do think it's true. I think when you go into things like therapy, one of the first things they ask you, let's say you go into therapy with your girlfriend or your wife, one of the first things they ask you is, okay, let's go through a particular problem that you're working through. And then, you'll say your problem and your partner will be sitting right there. And then the therapist will inevitably ask the question, well, okay, so you did this and you wanted your partner to respond in a way. Did you tell your partner that? And did you yourself even know that you wanted that prior to this meeting or prior to me sending you down this line of inquiry? And most people say no, right? After they kind of get over the emotions of it, like, well, she should know. There's a very common argument, right? Well, you should know, or you should want to do this, or you should know how I feel. In my opinion, and I think a lot of therapists would agree with me, that is just not true. Like every single therapist that I've talked to 3 in relationships before, and every single time they come back to, well, what do you want? And did you articulate that to your partner? Rather than assuming your partner should know how you feel or should know what you want. And Ray, you are back. I can see you. I don't know if I can hear you though, my friend. Let's see. Testing. Are you there, bud? Can you? Oh,
I'm here.
Cool. Sweet.
Bit of an
back.
echo though. Let me try this.
Maybe you have 2 tabs open of the Crowdcast. Yeah, that usually happens. But you're still mute. Let me unmute you here. You're still on mute for some reason, and I'm not able to unmute you. Ray's experiencing technical difficulties up there in Canada. So anyway, the book goes on to proceed and talk about giving an example of where there's one couple, and this is how intense dreams can sometimes get, where there's one couple and this guy wanted to go and travel, and I'm going to Ray again. Wanted to travel and be away for a handful of months, which, as you can imagine, but this was like a spiritual journey for him. So as you can imagine, Ray, you are back, my friend.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. So I was just going through the example of in the book how sometimes supporting our partner's dreams is not easy, right? And they talked about the example in the book where the guy wanted to go away basically on a journey, spiritual journey, and then come back. And this was what, I think it was 6 months later.
It was a year in Israel is what he wanted to do.
Oh.
And she supported him. But when he came back, she wanted to go get a degree or something, right? And so he got to fill so she took the role of supporting his dream pursuit, and then the role switched, where then he took the role of having a stable job so she could pursue her dream.
Which is pretty intense if you think about it. So if you put yourself in that couple's shoes, how easily would you accept, let's say, Sarah saying, hey, I want to go away for a year because this is my dream to go off on this voyage? Mm-hmm. Well, how would you feel about that?
It is introducing a level of instability or unpredictability into the relationship, which we are not programmed to celebrate.
Right. How do you think you would handle it?
Me, evolved being that I am, I would support her outwardly and like grind my teeth and resent her internally.
What would come up for you originally when she told you that? Because I know what would come up for me.
This occurred actually in our relationship because before she got her high-powered, high-paying interior design job that she has now, she was fed up with the running her own practice and like sick of like ordering people's couches and then returning them and like tracking delivery, all that kind of like low-level stuff. Mm-hmm. She wanted to design big, great spaces, right? That kind of high-level stuff. And so she was fed up with it. She said, I'm done with this industry. I'm going to go back to being an artist. And so she said this maybe earlier in the year, like in February, let's say. And it sounded to me like she's going to get out of the business of contributing money.
Got it. Yeah.
And I mean, so I thought to myself, you know, if I announced I was getting out of the business of contributing money, like if I announced I was going to be an artist, I wonder how that would be received, you know? So it was, yeah. So, and then to watch her not like, and then whenever she wasn't making art in her studio, whether that's an hour or a day or whatever, I would, you know, complain. Mm. And so I would hold her to, like, I would kind of hold her to account to her goal of becoming an artist again, her dream of becoming an artist again. I would make it uncomfortable for her if she slacked off from her stated desired dream.
Got it.
I think that's kind of how it went. And then, of course, 2-3 weeks later, she got this amazing job offer that was very high level, which is exactly what she wanted. So
now,
from that,
how would you respond though if she said, "I'm going away for a year"?
I just don't know, Wes. I just don't know how I respond, man. Like,
yeah, because I don't think I would respond well. I don't like it. It seemed
like I said that if I announced that, she would not respond well. You know,
right?
But I'm not supremely confident that I would support her.
Yeah. I think ultimately I could come around to it, but I think I would probably lay out the baseline argument. It's like, okay, so you want me now. I think it's different if you're married, if you're not married, etc. But I think what would first run through my head is like, okay, so you want me just to, right, like not have certain desires fulfilled, right, like not have partnership, not have intimacy, not have all of these things for a full year, and you don't want me to have those fulfilled in any way while you're gone. I think that's probably the first male thing that would run through my brain. But I would then hope to think that I would be able to go through it hand in hand with the person and figure out some sort of solution. So I think ultimately I would come around, but I think my first at bat at those thoughts would not be good.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you ask yourself, what are you like? Wes would ask himself, what is Wes losing in this transaction? So I'm going to pull up a quote here from the book. Everyone has a life dream or a life purpose, and you have to be intentional about not sacrificing those dreams and that purpose to your daily task list, your work, family, or even your relationship. So, Wes, did you mention what people should do if they are stumped as to what their life dream is or what life purpose is?
Nope. Go for it, bro.
I don't have an answer. I would turn to you on that.
Oh yeah. So this is a perfect pairing with the next book that we'll read, which is called The War of Art, which Ray was talking about earlier. I would say the shortcut version of this is if you do not have a very clear and crisp idea of what you want, knowing that you're going to iterate over time, right? Like knowing that for sure you will edit the document. If you do not have this so crisp and clear to the point where you can put it on 1 page, 3 pages, 5 pages, 10 pages, my document is probably 12 pages long right here. If you do not have that, then in my opinion, you do not have the right to I'm trying to be gentle about this. You do not have the right to ask somebody else to join you in your journey and then judge them if they're not walking lockstep with you, because you are flying by the seat of your pants and you are course correcting to a course that you don't even know about. And you're expecting your partner to be able to walk with you, right? That's like two people walking in the dark with blindfolds on, right? Like, it's crazy.
Course correcting in that scenario, you're wandering.
Oh, 100%. Right? You're course correcting in the sense that, like, oh, I don't feel good going over in this little pocket of the geography, so I'm going to turn, and my partner should know when to turn with me. Like, that's just based off of my short-term feelings versus, right, like, really knowing what. Now, the prerequisite, it's pretty simple. Like, do not make this more complicated than it needs to be. Just go and lock yourself in a room, or in my particular, my vote is you go to a very inspiring place and lock yourself there for 5 hours. And write down exactly what you want, and then refine it. Like, maybe you think you want to become like this piano player, but you really don't in the grand sense of things. But you're not qualified to even tell yourself or decide what you want until you just like mind dump all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. I want this. And then all of a sudden you refine it and you realize, oh, here are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that I actually want. Now you build a plan. This will take you 3 to 5 hours, maybe 7 hours. And that's it. Like, that's not a lot of time to discover where true north is for you. 5 to 7 hours is not a lot of time at all. And I would actually argue it's kind of the law of diminishing returns. You will get the most out of the exercise the first 10 minutes, right? Like 80% of the exercise, I promise you will get 80% of the benefit in 10 minutes. And Ray, correct me if your journey was different. But then, yes, it takes a handful of hours to get like the 83rd%, the 84%, 85%, and so on. But when you get to 5 to 7 hours, you have 99% of your stuff written down.
Absolutely.
Right?
Steve Harvey has some kind of inspirational message where he says, on the issue of manifesting, it's write down 100 things that you want in your life. And I mean, I only got to 25.
Yep, there you go.
Right before I was like coming up with stuff that was pretty minor.
Yeah, right? You're struggling to think of more things.
Yeah, but and I would have just been refining and doing subcategories on the initial ones. But like, yeah, absolutely. It doesn't take long if you dedicate the time to it correctly. It doesn't take long to access your dreams. If you're struggling with this, there's something else in the way. Like there is issues of adequacy. There's adequacy issues. There's imposter syndrome. There's something like I had to break through a lot of that stuff before I got to the point where I could say out loud, I'm allowed to be happy. I'm allowed to go for it. I'm allowed to, but I had to break through all those fears and like crack all those shells of fear.
Yeah. And dude, I can tell you when you do this and then you refine it into a vision board, like we've talked about before. So like you will basically have your life's desires inside of 1 page or 2 pages. And that's it. Right? Like it's so simple. And then the coolest thing is it's so much easier to then articulate that to your partner. And I could tell you, I guarantee this. I've never found this not to be the case. Guaranteed, you go to your partner and when you articulate that, especially if you just first start dating, you will wow a female with like just showing your level of ambition, because that's oftentimes what they're attracted to is the ambition, not necessarily you have the $5 million in the bank. It's that you want the $5 million. Just rough example. But if you can clearly articulate your path and your vision to another person, I would be willing to bet you that they will come along with the journey with you, and you will inspire them to go on their own journey. But you can do that in parallel together. Have you found a similar life experience, Ray?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have to explain to Sarah anymore why, like, I eat this nasty smelling, swamp water.
Yep.
Or why, like, if she can't make it to a couple's workout, I go alone.
Yep.
Because of my defined, because of the my goals and the list of things I must do on a daily basis. Right? Yeah,
and the thing is, man, just like Ray said, you will struggle to think of more than a couple dozen things, and probably you can refine it down to less than 10 things. Like if you just like cluster these things together. Mm-hmm. I also think that brings a sense of stability to a relationship, to a team. because I know that anybody who's close to me knows that 15 years ago I was doing the same things. Like, so to the point where you talk about, like, let's just say, security or insecurity in a relationship. Well, any girls who date me, if they ever want to find me, they only have, if they can't get, if my phone's dead for some reason, all they literally have to do is take 25 minutes to drive around to the one of 4 places where I am. Right? It's like not hard. Like you can very much guess. What'd you say?
The strip club, the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it brings a certain level of stability to a relationship, and then it brings a certain level of accountability.
And to one, and all again, with everything we do in this group, it brings, like, the first benefit is to the self.
Yes,
right,
100%.
And so there's 4 questions that the authors propose. There was we talked about John and Julie. They're on their honeymoon, or their annual honeymoon trip, where John brought, like, all his work and all his books, and he was, like, reading and writing 16 hours a day, right? The year following their disastrous annual honeymoon trip, when John worked 16 hours a day, John and Julie set out once again for another July honeymoon. This time, John left all the books behind. Instead, they kayaked and focused on each other and were intentional about discussing their life and their dreams. They asked each other how they could honor the other person's dreams. They listened, they took notes. Even though they lived together and worked together, they still had things to learn about each other. And there are 4 questions. Engaging in these 4 questions is a secret ingredient to creating a lifetime of love. And I'm just going to make sure I have, these are the questions. How do you see your work changing in the future? What do you find exciting about your life right now? What are your biggest worries about the future? What do you think how do you think we could have more fun in our life? And then what are the things that are missing in your life? So, and I think these are especially instructive if you or your partner are having trouble coming up with the vision board, the list of goals, or articulating your dreams in a crisp way. What do you see your work changing? How do you see your work changing in the future? Example, I want to run my own company instead of working for somebody else.
Yep.
Or the opposite, I want to work for a really stable company so I can pursue this side hustle without, like, compromising our financial stability. What do you find exciting about your life right now? The fact that I run my own company and I don't have to answer to anyone. What are the biggest worries about the future? Example, that we won't have enough, that we won't give our children the same quality of life that we had, that we'll never be homeowners, that we won't have the kind of financial stability I'm searching for given my chaotic childhood. How do you think we could have more fun in our life? We could go on a trip together. And what do you think are missing in your life? So it's not hard to come up with it might even help to come up with hypotheticals. And because even in these kind of, like, rattling off hypotheticals, I'm thinking of how I can answer those for myself.
Oh yeah. Well, and then also, how can you support your partner? And that's honestly something that I need to do a lot of work on. I oftentimes am so self-absorbed, in the sense of, like, absorbed because I know exactly what I'm going after, where that can override. Like, if I have a partner who doesn't know what they want, I have a tendency to be dismissive. It's like, okay, well, while you go and figure your stuff out, I'm going to stay on my journey. Yeah. And I don't think that's fair. Actually, I know that's not fair. So I need to improve that a lot.
Untether them?
I think what I have been so one-sided in my approach to this stuff, because I've struggled to find a partner who has equivalent intensity in pursuit of their goals.
Yeah.
So then I will, instead of supporting them where they're at and say, okay, hey, let's create a vision board. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's go out to coffee. Let's go to dinner and let's talk about it. like I will tend to have the implied or even maybe implicit or explicit like words of like, all right, well, while you go and do your own homework, I'm going to stay on my path.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's been very lopsided. I need to fix that in the future.
And so, for example, I would predict that your answers would be something like, how do you see your work changing in the future? And I guess that would be the assets under management goal.
Oh yeah, my goals would be like probably all of them would just be more.
Yeah.
Like what I'm doing now, 10 times more.
And then what do you find exciting about your life right now is, I guess it's your pursuit of excellence and self-mastery.
Yep.
What are your biggest worries about the future? How would you answer that?
Not getting those things. Yeah.
Okay.
Like literally just the inverse of those.
And then how do you think we could have more fun in our life, Wes?
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, just to be super candid, the answer to the last question,
I know that one.
is
Okay. Go ahead. The last question we posed.
Yeah. The answer to the last question we posed is actually I don't want to recreate what my father did to my family.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Like that's if I was getting down to like the nucleus of it, like that.
Yeah. And so your biggest worry about the future would be that you repeated
Yep.
the problems that you had growing up, or like
which my dad left.
Right. And same for me. It's like that I not even repeated because I wasn't in the driver's seat back then, right? But it's like right? Because so it's what is it? It's like copy your dad's behavior, right? Or like copy the chaos. Like so, one of the reasons I don't drink, or like I'm happy I don't drink because alcohol contributes to such a chaotic household.
Yeah.
Right, for me growing up. And then what's missing in your life? I presume it's having the partner to spend it with.
Yeah, and I would probably say that I need a partner to round me out and to have more quote fun in like the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely
drag you away from your desk and
and just like the four things that I do, like I can tell you an experience that I have quite often is whenever I go on vacation, especially with like a group of friends or something like that, dude, I never want to go. Like literally never want to go ever. The way my brain sees it is like, but then the four things that I focus on will not be getting attention. Yeah. So I'm going to have to catch back up a week from now. Every single time I don't want to go.
And then when you go?
100%. I'm like, I come back and like, why do I not do this once a quarter?
Yeah.
Like way more frequently. And so I have to do that. How about yourself? What's the answer to your?
Oh yeah. I have that feeling like when, for example, 2 weeks ago, I wanted to leave the weekend in the country to be back for my 4 p.m. Sunday church service that I always go to. And Sarah was like, no, we should stay here with our guests for a couple of extra hours and enjoy the Sunday. Now, anyone who has a cottage or goes away for the weekend is always faced with this, right? Do we beat the traffic by leaving first thing in the morning, or do we get one more day of holiday out of it? And so I very passively, aggressively agreed with Sarah to stay the extra day, and I went and found a local country church to go to.
Oh, look at that compromise, man.
It was amazing. It was this old little rickety building, and there were 4 Nigerian priests doing the church service, and they had the best accents. They were like, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I think I may have goofed around on this subject before. But like that was an example of me really making the life unpleasant for everyone because I wasn't getting my way, and then being so happy that I ended up going with the flow. Just like you said, that's my version of what you were talking about.
Dude, I think there's a lot of life lessons just in that one particular like microcosmic situation you went through. One of those being like, when you agree to something, agree and go all into it. Mm-hmm. We've all been in this situation where it's like, I agree, but I'm going to make this fucking miserable for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'll get my way in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it over.
Yeah. Well, and the real situation there is like you don't really get what you want, and she doesn't really get what she wants because you'd rather be at home at church, but now you're going to make it shitty and toxic for everybody else, and she doesn't get what she wants. Yeah, 100%. I think it's very similar to I love sports analogies. So it's like, all right, we're in the heat of the moment of the game. It's fourth quarter. We got 10 seconds left to play here. Here's the play. We can't all pick a play. We have to pick one play. The coach picked this play. So you cannot play this last 10 seconds. Bless you, Ray. We cannot not play this last 10 seconds thinking that like, oh, well, if it doesn't go my way, if we don't win, it's because we didn't get the play that I picked. And it's like, no, once you agree, like, do not agree to something you don't agree to. But if you agree, this gets back to the relationship to your word. Yeah. If you agree, then go all in, right? No watered down BS. And then the second thing is, I would say, to cap this conversation, and I'm going to bring up, I'm going to pick somebody here. I'm going to bring up Dima as well. It's how can do you support your partner to the degree that you think you should? And if not, how could you support them? I'll bring up Lucas if he's available. So Ray, do you think you support Sarah to the degree that you should?
You know what? I'm going to quickly text her. How can I make your day easier today?
Love it.
Just to get ahead of the challenge.
So do you think you
support along, by the way? So thank you in advance for this, Wes.
Yeah.
Return this IKEA desk. Call the plumber.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I don't. And on my vision board, there is a little text I've added, like, rather than like adding pictures, and I have to add icons for these, but it's like, do my Sandler sales training, OLPH is my church, play guitar, be a good husband to Sarah, be a good father to Thea.
Love it.
And so, so it's on my vision board because being a good husband, like the subject you just raised.
You know what?
Extremely.
You know what? I wonder if this is a good idea, and I'm just kind of having this mini revelation now. Should we have our partners' vision boards in our own binder as well?
Well, I think that yes. Again, what's the right way to hold them accountable to that vision board? Mm-hmm. Right, because what we're talking about is supporting their dreams, not enforcing their dreams.
Right. That's a great distinction. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but at least it's like, man, if my vision board is so important to me and she puts work in her vision board, shouldn't I, as a partner, pay just as much attention to hers as mine, or at least a significant percentage of that time?
I wouldn't say pay as much attention. And something that comes up for me is in 12-step programs, we talk about not like advertising or cajoling or begging people to get help, but by attraction, right? By by showing them through our deeds how pursuing our goals benefits us. Do you know what I mean?
Got it. Oh, yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm just thinking of the worst case scenario where I'm nagging my spouse to to pursue her dreams. Mm-hmm. Or I'm nagging someone to get sober, or I'm nagging someone to get fit, or I'm nagging someone to eat healthy. I think that I wonder if maybe the best way to do it is just to model that good behavior.
Got it.
And so whenever someone comes to me, for example, whenever Sarah comes to me and says, this person, says they're fed up with the drunk life or the drug fueled life, they're ready to get serious. That's good. I love hearing that. Only when that person comes to me and tells me to my face, will I propose a plan for them?
Yeah.
You know, because
Got
and I kind of lost the thread a little bit, but
Well,
on a
because-
daily basis, I'm just I'm showing from my own personal success how goals, vision board, scorecard, fitness, eating healthy, staying lean works for me.
yeah. Yeah, because I think in my next relationship, I'm going to try, and I even do this with my staff. Like, this is silly that I do it with my staff, and I haven't done it with past relationships. Which is like, I know my staff's goals. Like, literally, they have to give me a presentation on their own vision board, on their goals, etc. Every single quarter, they have to give me an update. And I'm not saying I have to take it to that level, but just knowing what my partner is pursuing, I think, is leaps and bounds above what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and that could be as simple as, hey, you might not have your vision board yet, but let's go out for dinner. Let's just talk about your goals. Like, I just want to know about what you really desire.
Okay. So Wes, the psycho is like, I'm going to print out my partner's vision board 10 times as big. I'm going to tattoo it on my retina. No. Let's back up. Let's have the conversation about, do you know what your dreams are?
Right.
Or let's have the conversation. What are your dreams?
Yep.
And then we go back to, so does she know what her dreams are? Let's say she says no. We go to where we started today with helping her define her dreams, right? Recommending she sit down in a room, offer to sit down with her, and by memory, coming up with your own list of 100 things.
Yep.
So again, showing by example.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Love it. Well, this book and this conversation and our conversations, and thank you, Ray, for going through this with me. This marks the conclusion of the first book that we have read in the Rhomas Book Club together and having conversations about it. I think oftentimes, even most people don't even finish books. The statistic is crazy. It's something probably like 95% of people don't finish the books that they start. But then I think to get the real juice out of a book, I think a book should be used as conversational elements where you can actually dig deep into the main topics and have real life discussions, just like we've done here. We brought some of you guys onto the show to talk about this. So Ray, I appreciate it because you forced me and my thought process into the nooks and crannies of these topics. And I will, because of that, change my actions in this key area of life. So thank you, brother.
No worries. Let me run through the speed dating chapter summary. There's only a few, but because I think they're very useful. Honoring each other's dreams is the secret ingredient to creating love for a lifetime. Your relationship is one dream you have for your life, but each of you has other dreams that are important to you as individuals. You can make all of each other's dreams come true, but it rarely happens at the same time. Sacrifices need to be made. Honoring your partner's dreams is a potent way to show your love for them. When dreams are honored, everything else in the relationship gets easier. Everyone has a life dream or life purpose. Nobody should sacrifice that dream or purpose for the relationship. You can't honor each other's dreams if you don't share them with each other. So I think we start by, like I just said, asking, what are your dreams? If she identifies the dreams, work on them together.
Yep.
If she says no, create the framework to help her discover them.
Love it. Spot on. And do it in a way that's not robotic, like how I would do it. Not do it in a more casual way. Yep.
Right. Or
All right, Beast.
And again, show, lead, be a model, lead by example, be a leader for yourself, your spouse, your family, and your community.
Love it. Beast, it's an honor. Keep fighting. Get down to 163, my friend. Or your goal is what, 170?
My goal is to get lower than you at any point before September 10th or at any point before you hit 163.
Yes, but your goal for the year of body weight was what, 175?
175, and I'm kissing 175 right now. I'm 175 change.
Hell yeah! All right, Beast. Keep on
All
it.
right, guys.
Dudes, have an awesome day. Talk to
Friday.
you guys later. Later.